continues in a moment. You can follow Force 13's outlets, the website force13.co.uk, at your service at any time. You can also find us on YouTube, the channel, search Force 13, all in text, and subscribe if you haven't already. You can also find us on Facebook at Force 13, and it's at Force 13 on Twitter, that's the handle to contact us there. You can also add Fool13 on Skype, that's FOOL13, and add extension 9094 on Discord for tropical weather chat. You're watching Force 13's live streaming service. Good evening, this is Force 13 Live. As you can see, there's the view right now in front of us from Force 13 HQ this evening. The current time is 10 PM here, 9 PM on the Universal Clock, but it's not all about what's going on over here in rainy Manchester this evening. It's all about what's going on elsewhere in the tropics. We've of course got potential tropical cyclone 7, which has formed in the Atlantic very close to Honduras. In the Western Caribbean Sea, and we've also got Typhoon Noru, which is moving through Japan right now. You're stuck with the one webcam this evening on my end. Here I am, by the way, somewhere here at the Force 13 desk. But we're also joined by all of our Skype team as well, and in a moment I'll be able to fade them up so that you can hear them. And here they are. First of all, hello David, how are you this evening? Morning over there.
Yeah, it's morning over here, and good to be here.
Thank you. Dane, hello.
Hello.
How are you this evening? Tropical
I'm
Cyclone
doing
7,
fantastic, thank you very much.
Hank, how are you?
I'm exhausted.
Ah. Well, let's hope we can get through this. I think that's Isaac at the bottom left there. The name's cut off, but he's looking outside.
Hello.
Yes. What are we looking at there?
The wind over here gusting to 25. Was 30 yesterday.
Crikey. Craig joining us from Scotland. How are you this evening?
Not bad.
Not bad. And Orlando joining us from
Hello.
New Jersey. How are you this evening?
I am doing great.
So who wants to go first on potential Tropical Cyclone 7? Which
I'll
could be
go.
the next name.
So yeah, this is a current satellite view of the storm, and as you can see, it's looking rather decent. However, ASCAT has revealed that there really isn't a closed center. Unfortunately, I cannot provide ASCAT for you for what reasons that are unknown to myself. So that's one view on it. I'm just going to pull up this other source so we can get another view. So this is the storm right now. I apologize that my thing is not really working properly.
Before we go onto anything technical there, we got to read out the warnings, haven't we? Warnings in effect for quite a large chunk of the Yucatan Peninsula there.
Yeah, so let's see. Public advisory. Okay, so tropical storm warning is in effect for the coast of Mexico from Chetumal to Campeche, and a tropical storm watch is in effect for Belize City northward to the border of Mexico. Tropical storm warning, meaning tropical storm conditions are expected somewhere within the warning area within 24 hours, and a tropical storm watch means that tropical storm conditions are possible within the watch area within 36 to 48 hours. It is not yet a tropical cyclone, so that is why it is being dubbed a potential tropical cyclone, something that we are familiar with, which would happen twice in June. But regardless, this system is moving forward to this area of coastline right here, and it is going to be moving in this general direction right here. And as you can see, it doesn't really have many westerlies going into the center. It does have the overall broad wave axis that you expect that is tilted like this, and it is being sort of steering itself, kind of. There's a little bit of a upper level piece of energy in this area right here over Nicaragua and Honduras that should allow it to be tilted horizontally like this. And when it's tilted in this sort of fashion, it's much easier to get a closed center to form. And in this general direction, or in this general area of the Western Caribbean, the trades slow down significantly, because as you can see over here in the Central Caribbean, they're really moving from east to west. But over here, they're not moving nearly as fast. They're still existent, but they're not nearly as prevalent. In addition, there is an upper level ridge that is steering 90L that is nosing in over the Gulf of Mexico and should be steering the system towards the west into the Bay of Campeche, which we'll get to in a minute. And this convection associated with the invest should help to kind of erode the ridge, so it can kind of end up sort of like this. That's not exact, but it kind of erodes a little bit. So that means instead of moving in this general direction, it could be allowed to move in this general direction. And this is not good news, because normally, I'm just going to shift over. Oops. I'm just going to shift over a little bit to the west so we can have a better view for this.
You're loving those annotations, I see.
Yeah, it's the first time I'm going to use this, so I'm a little bit excited about that. So if we get it moving in this general direction, which might or might not be the case, then it will move into less water over here over the Bay of Campeche, and it won't have as much time to strengthen. However, as what most of the models are suggesting, what the current trend suggests, if it moves in this general direction, it has much more water to sustain itself over. And water temperatures in this area are really, really warm. You can kind of see that with these low cumulus clouds right here, kind of displaying some of that heat. And this general area of the Mexican coast could see an impact from the storm. Intensity-wise, NHC says a very strong tropical storm.
Yeah.
It probably will reach hurricane intensity according to both the models and just general trends. And if it does get named, it'll get the name Franklin. Kind of a weird name for a Mexican hurricane, but whatever. And it could be a storm similar to that of Diana of 1990, which took a track pretty much like this into Mexico. And that's
the first thing on people's minds when thinking comparisons is probably going to be Earl of last year.
Right, but Earl did this, and that's not what this storm will be doing. It'll be farther north, and we'll be doing something kind of like that. So, decent comparison, I guess. The overall wave structure is similar, and I've been talking for a while, so if anyone wants to go, then be my guest.
Jump in now when you've got the chance. If anyone's got anything else to say at this point. But you can also send in your comments if you're watching. Start your message with Force13 all in text, and you can also join us on our social platforms as well. Well, Craig, anything you've got to say about 7L, potential 7L, still all that confusing stuff?
Wow. PT7L, looking at it, is going to be very, very, very close to see whether it's going to close circulation or not. I'd be waiting to see what the microwave image has for it. Rams is about as good as a chocolate fireguard because it's got it from 15 UTC, which is no good to anybody. Sims hasn't got it up yet, so I'd need to wait for it to be actually designated as a tropical depression because they don't do invest for some weird reason, apart from RAM. ASCAT, I don't know when that's due to pass, but I don't think that's going to be
No,
due
not
to
till
pass
the early
anytime.
hours of the next morning.
So we're going to be waiting for quite a while to see if this thing does have a close center circulation, but looking at the rapid scan imagery, it looks like it could easily have one.
Or two.
Now, from what I'm seeing, I'm only
No, it's
seeing
going to get one. It's going to get one very soon, I think. I would go on about that longer, to be honest, but we're going to talk more about PT7 very soon. We did it at the top of the hour because it's the breaking news. Otherwise, we'll be talking about Typhoon Noru, which can't be ignored. It's grazing the coast of Shikoku, Japan right now, very close to making a landfall earlier. Whether it has or not is another one that's going to be open to debate, isn't it? Certainly the edge of the eye has moved over part of that island, one of the 4 main islands of Japan, and now it's moving towards the northeast. We expect there will be a bona fide landfall very soon indeed. And there it is on, I think that's Hank's imagery still, that we're looking at on the Himawari 8 satellite. You can see it at all corners of our screens as well, pretty much, the bottom corners there, showing you what's going on right now. And well, it's a crazy storm, and models GFS and HWRF possibly hinting that it's going to move southwards after passing Tokyo.
Oh gosh.
So
Reactions to
since the
that.
questions are kind of starting to pile up here, we may as well start answering some of them. The first one, Wallace says, could this become a hurricane? If so, what intensity?
I'm guessing that's for 07L. You probably,
Yeah.
but right now let's focus on Noru.
We'll talk about that a little later, and we'll look at the models and all that stuff, but I just want to talk more about Noru. It's been a fairly compact storm. It was stalling for a long time off the coast of Kyushu. I expect it's delivered quite a bit of rainfall there.
Most likely. I mean, really, this storm has been all over the place. There's been tracks that have been going up into Korea like this. There have been tracks. The most
On the
consistent track was
forecast, yes.
kind of like that. But it was going on that track originally, but then said no, and then it's now going in this general direction, and might actually, if this trend continues, might just ride along the southern coast of Japan, and could end up doing that thing where it stays out here, and you will still be talking about it, even though this thing has been active for I don't even know how long. It's an interesting
July 20th, I think.
Yeah, interesting little tidbit. This is the longest lived typhoon since, get this, Typhoon Rita of 1972.
Not
so
bad.
this thing,
That was a July storm, I think.
it was either July or August, one of those two. But
Maybe both.
yeah, this thing has produced, let's see, 40 ace. It's been a typhoon for, I think, 16 days. It was briefly a Cat 5 after some explosive transformation. It's, doing its stuff on Japan right now, and
Those models, though, were laughable, weren't they? Well, one
Yeah.
in particular.
Let's just not go there.
We've got to give it a mention. We've not talked about
No,
this. We've not had a chance to talk about
no,
this. Please.
no.
Craig, right? But this is the pressure right here that the GFS model was giving
Oh, Jesus Christ.
GFS model said
865 millibars. That
No,
right,
and immediately on to other things with Noru instead of hanging around with with a model that should be in an insane asylum. And maybe should lay off the drugs as well.
Or should be getting a real this time.
What drugs is GFS on? Haima?
LSD, I'd have
Who
no.
knows what
LSD
it was?
or
Anyway,
crystal meth.
back to the point.
For right now, for Japan, no one cares about what drugs the GFS is on because right now it's going to be moving in it's going to be impacting a pretty large portion of the Japanese coast.
Still certainly looks like a typhoon with a decent eye retaining itself for now.
Yeah,
Cloudtops have blown back up again over the last few frames or so, but to be honest, that would just be consolation for Noru at this point in time. Might be a little bit, a small bit of intensification, but it's not going to really be much. I'd barely, if that's going to even affect the wind speed, I'd barely say that's it pressure affecting. What's wind speed is it at right now? 75 miles per hour. This thing should hold 75 miles per hour if it makes landfall, which it should do again in Japan, and then do exactly as forecasted, become a tropical, downgrade down to a tropical storm, and then finally die.
We hope.
Yeah, we hope, because if this thing does not die, then
I've just got some satellite-derived rainfall totals. 24-hour total as of 12 Zulu earlier today, some 10 hours ago this was. The 24 hours up until then, the southern tip of Kyushu had something like 6 or 7 inches of rainfall in 24 hours.
Right, and apparently, I don't know whether this is confirmed or not, but apparently from Japan that there was apparently 2 fatalities. Apparently. From Nauru. I don't know whether that's...
Oh, look, there's us.
There you go. Oh, wow, nice. Well, in fact, that's me. That's double me. That's everybody who... Now, here's... If there's double me, everyone, let's see.
Oh no, there's the models page. Yep. Okay, let's... Right. Well, I guess we may as well start with this.
Okay. Oh god.
Now there's the GFS saying that Nauru will turn south. Look at that.
Yeah, and then watch what it does in the last few. Oh, bye.
And then off towards the northeast. Okay, finally. That's an undignified way for such a long-lived storm to go.
Yes.
But there it goes.
It finally goes away. And then at the end of that model run, there is another quote-unquote depression that goes towards the Marianas Islands, but that's too far out to even say that would happen. ACMWF, another model that said that Nauru would be a Category 5 approaching Japan. It never happened.
Did reach Category 5 though. Oh, there's another one. The nav
it did.
Hugging the eastern coast of Honshu there on that forecast is a weak system. After it goes, storms don't usually stall in that area. They usually get rushed away, don't they?
But pretty much near enough a general consensus, obviously, you would like to hope that the storm would now start to go downhill from here, and basically finally dying. Which is a first. Because this storm has been like a yo-yo. It's been up and down, up and down. And then it literally briefly lost typhoon status before ramping up to a Category 5 from jumping from Category 2 to Cat 5. And Nathan, you missed it.
Yeah, it's the 5th out of 7 occasions in the last 7 vacations of mine that a Cat 5 has occurred. 5 out of 7, and if you count,
let's not count.
If you count Cat 5s plus retired storms, it's 6 out of 7 because Sandy was another one.
But Sandy wasn't a Cat 5.
It was retired though.
Yeah, okay. but we're not going to count how
Alright.
many storms.
Who else is
maybe.
still with us who hasn't spoken yet? I'd like to hear from them.
Well, I haven't really spoken that much.
Orlando's there.
I haven't really spoken much.
We'll talk to Orlando for a moment then. What are your thoughts on either Noru or PTC 7?
Well, PTC 7 has a chance to become a hurricane, a weak hurricane, not a powerful hurricane, since it's moving into a small body of water after crossing the Yucatan, so it really doesn't have that much to strengthen with.
Do you agree with the National Hurricane Center's forecast for 70 miles per hour?
Sure.
It's a really, really warm body of water, which will have little shear, really. So, who's to say this thing can't ramp up to a stronger storm than what's being predicted?
Yeah, possible. And day starting to break on Noru as well right now, if we can get that. Nope, there's me. Can we get Noru at all?
I'm pretty sure you're not.
There's a
type.
There's potential cyclone 7. No, we'll try and get Noru. There's Noru on the big imagery there. That's the latest floater imagery. They'll be better on Himawari itself, but I'm not able to get that up at this moment in time. But that is the latest on the floater imagery, and first day is starting to break there on what appears to be a stronger eastern side, much so than the western side.
This is an old microwave image of the non-dying Noru. This is
According
actually
to what I'm
pretty
seeing
old.
in the chat, they downgraded it to a severe tropical storm.
Yeah,
JMA.
Here's the estimates JMA had Noru when it was a Cat 5. 100 miles an hour. They had it 85 knots.
Yeah, they're not the best at storm
No.
when it comes to peak strength.
So
at all.
JMA has put it down to 70 miles an hour there. I disagree.
Very much.
Really, I disagree with that. 75 at least I would keep it at. It looks pretty good. But they're saying 70 miles an hour now. They are the officials. David, any thoughts on that?
I think he went to go reboot his computer.
Oh, he did he?
Yeah, that's what he said in the chat. So
I don't know whether this microwave image, I know this is pretty outdated, but this microwave image should pretty much sum up what Noru has been like on microwave imagery. If you've seen the last few microwave images of Noru, this is nowhere near the size of its eye, what the size of the eye was a couple of days ago.
Right, let's
this thing went from huge to small.
let's move on to something else, something that's been just about coming up in the questions, so we may as well touch upon it. The other system that's out there, Invest 99L. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
Oh yeah, that's a thing.
Sure is.
What even is it? I don't even think that's an invest.
It's a tropical disturbance out at the sea, and it's consistently looked awful. And
oh yeah, that thing. Is it that? Is it that little cloud?
Oh, that thing. Yeah. Go on, click
Yeah,
on
that
it.
little, that little cloud. I'm surprised it's not named a tropical storm.
A
'Cause,
small cloud
logic
out
from
at
last
the
year.
sea. All right, put the logic aside,
Yeah,
Craig. In case someone from National Hurricane Centre is watching, you'll never get a job there, you know. So Invest 99L. Moving towards, I'm guessing, the west. And models have it as a long-range potential storm.
Potential, yeah.
this right
I
here
remember
is
the GFS and that were forming it from the day it was designated into at least a hurricane hitting Florida or South Carolina.
Hank, go ahead.
Not saying it wasn't possible, but then they rapidly backed off, had it going through the Lesser and Greater Antilles, and now they're not even developing it. No, I don't even think any of the models are developing it.
Here's the issue with the storm right now, though. Look at this vorticity. Look how elongated that is. Like, you're not going to get a tropical storm when you have that sort of elongation to a wake. I mean,
No,
yeah, I mean, yeah, it's trying to break off a little bit, and maybe longer on down the line, if it continues to move west-northwest and might get into this area sometime soon, yeah, it might have to be washed, but that's still a long range threat. For now, we're just watching PTC7 and look at that vorticity right there. That's pretty indicative of what you might see for even a tropical depression. So it might be something you have to consider in the long run. But that's 850 millibars. So if we look higher up in the atmosphere, as you can see, it's still pretty decent, and this is still pretty crappy. And if we get higher up into the atmosphere, you can even see a little bit of the vorticity in the West Caribbean. So it's slightly tilted with height, but that is a huge distance. So it really doesn't make too much difference, because as you can see right here, sheer there is something very little really over the storm, and it's kind of
decreasing.
Yeah, it's more so of a westerly shear type of situation.
It's because of this ridge to the north of it, which is pushing some of the vorticity into this general area to the west of the system. And you know what that ridge is also doing? It's also pushing this shear in the Bay of Campeche towards the west into inland Mexico. What will that do? That will give 90 PTC7, a better environment to strengthen into potentially even a hurricane as it comes ashore somewhere along Mexico. Now, I've heard some people ask, well, is South Texas at any risk? I don't think so, because the bridge is just too strong, and it will push it just too far south. But we cannot rule areas like Brownsville, South Padre, maybe even as far north as Corpus, seeing some potential outer bands if the storm is larger excuse me. So that can't be ruled out. South Texas, you're probably not going to see more of this, but you could see some of the outer fringes of it. And areas along Mexico is what we really need to focus on at this point, especially in this general area right here where this yellow annotation is. Because if we get the storm, I think Tampico is in this general area right here. That was a horrible drawing. It's just right here. So if this moves in kind of like that, then we have the storm pushing storm surge kind of in like this, and that will inundate this general area right here with some significant surge.
Could we have another look at the forecast track from the NHC?
Yes, let me pull that up really quickly.
I already have it up.
Okay.
Competition there. Okay, I'm interested by this because the tropical storm warning extends all across the Yucatan Peninsula there, so they must be National Hurricane Center must be factoring in the possibility that it will move further north. But I'm interested in how the western coast of the peninsula has the tropical storm warnings when it's even beyond the 48-hour dot there. They think it could come sooner than what they're currently predicting at all.
That's actually a good point, because that means basically there's a slight chance that it actually might go further north than expected by the models if it intensifies quick enough. If that happens, then the southern areas, like the extreme southern areas of Texas, might be more affected.
Yeah, Craig, do you mind if I do a screen share really quick?
Sure.
All right, just going off of what Orlando just said, if this ridge, which, by the way, as I mentioned earlier, is being eroded simply just due to the convection associated with 90L, if it's being eroded, that also means that the storm can move farther north. The farther north the storm gets, the worse and worse the scenario could get. Because, as I mentioned earlier, just for newer viewers that have popped on, if you get a storm that moves kind of in like this, you don't really have that much water for the storm to intensify over. But if you get the storm moving in like, that's a little bit too extreme. If you move it in like this, I guess, then you have a lot more water for the storm to intensify over. And this is what currently this forecast track suggests. So because of that, you get storms that intensify really quickly in this general area, because the sea surface temperatures in this area are actually really high. You can even see that right here with these low level cumulus clouds.
Well, what storms can you think of right now that have intensified massively, that you know, very weak on the other side of the Yucatan Peninsula, or maybe hadn't even formed, and then intensified rapidly over that western half of the Gulf.
Carl, 2010.
Yes, that's one. Yeah.
Almost got to a 4.
And that's the sound of
Diana.
Dane moving. Go ahead.
I'm just gonna start trying to find analogs that might match this system.
Yeah, I already have a few that I can think of. Diana of 1990 moved pretty much in the exact track the storm was forecast to move in. Became a Category 2 as it impacted this area, and that's a legitimate potential for the storm. Ernesto of 2012, which moved in this area, but then it kind of dips south a little bit. I don't think it really dips south. I think it'll move in this general direction more than that. Gert, even of 1993, even though that started down by Nicaragua.
Some people are talking about Hurricane Alex as well.
Alex is also another one, but that kind of did something more like this, I guess.
Well, what do you think Alex could have been capable of if it happened at this time of year? Because it's a whole month and a bit later than what Alex did.
Well, in June, it became a 3, bite me. And in, say, early August, it could have become a 4, even if this water temperature was this strong right here. But then again, this year is not 2010. And the shear over Alex...
It's like 2010.
It would be like 2010.
Yeah.
And the shear over this area was also 0 for Alex. So, and that had more room to work with because it moved in this area of the coast. Well, this storm, which could become Franklin, will move in this general area. So Alex did something like that, or that, and this storm would do something like, gosh, that was awful. We'll move in something like that, and it will have less room to work with.
Is Isaac still with us right now, by the way?
Yeah,
I don't
know he's
over there
present.
somewhere. He was here at the start of the show. I just want to talk to him about what he thinks, because obviously he is probably going to be the closest person here to the storm.
I thought Caesar would have been.
Well, yeah, but he's not here right now.
Yeah,
But if he were to join
true.
us at some point, we could have a chat to him. But he is well inland, so I think all he'd get is rain.
And his guns. Oh, well.
let's see, another storm that I just thought of another storm off the top of my head. Gert of 1993, which I think it was talked about earlier, started down by Nicaragua, and then moved in something kind of like that into the coast in 1993.
Hello?
Hi.
Oh, there he is.
My audio cut out. I don't know why. I was about to talk, but my audio is
Oh,
like
weird.
wasn't working on your end.
You're
I
joining
don't
us
know
from
why.
southern Texas. Are you...
Yeah, Corpus.
How interested are you about this potential storm, and do you think it's going to get near?
Very interested in it, obviously, because it's kind of close to home. I don't know if I don't think it'll hit Texas, obviously, but I might get the outer bands of it, the outer effects, obviously rip currents from it, and I'm kind of waiting on that, but and also looking at the models too and seeing if they trend more north or more south. But I'll definitely feel the outer effects of this. Depending on where it goes, I'll feel the outer effects of this over here in Corpus. So I'm just watching it closely, and that's really all I could do right now.
So speaking of models, should we check those right now?
Before we do that,
Yeah.
I want to know a little bit more about its potential for that center of circulation,
Well-
close, low, etc.
Well,
Okay. If we take a closer look at, actually, 1 second, hold on, you can say something.
yeah, I was, but you can continue.
Okay. So if we're looking at this really closely, actually I should probably get out into what it's like currently. So this is what it's like currently. That's what it's like currently. And as you can see, there is something, if you look closely enough, there might be something trying to get going in this general area. I already checked, this is not at the mid levels, that is at the 900
Yeah,
millibar level.
I think it was
Which is-
always in that area there.
And it's almost at the surface. And yes, you do have these little bad out so on, but I don't think these will really count so much. And this will probably end up being the dominant feature, and then move in this general area. And this convection is also helping it a little bit to get going. And if this convection can sustain itself right here, then it could help the storm eventually become a tropical depression,
Well,
and then
it's had no problems doing that so far. I mean, it's cleared the Eastern Caribbean graveyard. It's into the happier Western Caribbean as it usually is. And
well, yeah, because the storm came into the Eastern Caribbean as a relatively weak wave. You got to get these weaker waves to get into the Eastern Caribbean, and not these, tropical storms like Brett or Dawn that move into the Eastern Caribbean and just fall apart. You got to have these weaker waves that move in, and then they'll have a better chance of getting going in the Western. Yeah. In the Western Caribbean as a whole.
I was looking through the analogs, and I actually found one that might be decent, which was Ella of 1970. It sort of made that same type of track. It's similar, and once it got into the Bay of Campeche, it got into tropical storm and quickly strengthened from there.
I believe Ella did something kind of like that, I think. And, yeah, I think Ella and Diane are probably the best analogs to this system as a whole at this point.
I have to say, though, this system's looking more like the part. It's almost there, the tropical storm.
Yeah, it's getting pretty close, I must say. And, really, this thing could easily become a strong tropical storm as it moves into Mexico. I think that even that 50-mile-an-hour landfall, I think it was predicting, that might be a little bit of an underestimation, because I think I saw HWRF have a hurricane.
Well, we know what reputation this area has.
Yeah, storms can really ramp up in this area because the trades really slow down in this area, as you can't really see in this, but you can see that they're really screaming. In fact, this will probably give you a better idea. You can see trades right in here, they're really moving towards the west, but over here, they really aren't moving that fast at all. So when you have that, you allow air to pile up in this area, which creates lower convergence, which is favorable for convective activity, and it's more favorable for these tropical waves to develop and potentially quickly develop as they generally move west into the peninsula or even north channel. And that's something that we always have to watch out for. We saw the Pearl last year formed in this area right here and became a Cat 1 as it moved into Belize. And this could be another system, kind of like Pearl, but further north, that really gets going in this area. And without really much warning at all. So, something I don't.
Let's just remind everyone. Before you go ahead there, let me remind everyone what the current situation is. Potential tropical cyclone 7 formed not so long ago. It was in the last half hour or so. At the update at the top of the hour at 9 PM UTC, 5 PM Eastern Daylight Time. It's 15.6 degrees north, 82 degrees west, 90 miles east-northeast of Cabo Gracias a Dios on the Nicaragua-Honduras border. 35 miles an hour sustained winds, and it's moving west-northwest 12 miles an hour with a pressure of 1008. There are tropical storm warnings to the coast of Mexico from Chetumal to Campeche, and tropical storm watches from Belize City northward to the border of Mexico. And it's just interesting how those warnings extend all the way around the Yucatan Peninsula. We'll get. I'm going to have a little read of what the discussion says on that, whilst you guys talk about something else.
Are we going to look at the models? I'm guessing of NDL right now.
I interrupted Craig there, so you can go first.
Yeah, I was just looking at the HWRF. I was actually speaking now with a clear blooper on screen share of me muted. So I was speaking with a muted mic, looking like an idiot. So yes, here's HWRF.
You're here now.
99. Yeah, I cannot read 90L. That's absolute sacrilege because this thing is actually going to conform. Franklin. HWRF thinks this thing will become a tropical storm, a strong tropical storm, possible hurricane landfall in the Yucatan Peninsula, and then obviously weakening, and then re-emerging over the Gulf. I guess that's just a little bit more northward than what the NHC says right now. And then they say, it will expand drastically, which HWF always loves saying stuff like that. And then they are saying at least a Category 3. So Category 3, so they expect a major hurricane out of 90L. Let's have a look at HMON.
And for anyone who's curious, HWF sometimes overestimates the intensity, so take that Cat 3.
Take that with a pinch of salt. Only start thinking, right, this could happen when you start getting maybe...
Also, I've seen a lot of messages throughout the day, Craig. I've seen a lot of messages throughout the day talking about this storm going into the Pacific and being a tropical storm.
I disagree.
No.
Let's get through the first.
No.
Let's get through the.
I wish it. If it's supposed to get into the East Pacific, I wish the best of luck not getting slaughtered by the mountain.
True.
I wish it the best of luck.
Yeah, let's get through
because when was the last storm that crossed over that region and was meant to get into the Eastern Pacific?
Well, I think Diana might have made it on the What Might Have Been.
That's what models say.
True.
I think Gert made it into Pacific as a depression. So.
Damn it.
Yeah, it's pretty rare though.
Yeah. Anita made
They're
it.
getting slaughtered by.
But that was a 5, so.
We'll see.
Yeah, let's not mention that year again.
Go on.
Here's HMON on 90L. They expect. I have no idea what the heck they're saying. I don't even know where the heck they're going with this.
That's the case.
They expect this to literally go right round. I think.
Well, I think they've initiated that in
Some
the
of
wrong
these
place.
Yeah, they're initializing.
Yeah, they have. Yeah, because that's the Yucatan right there. Goodness me.
Well, I think that landfall position doesn't look too out of step, to be honest.
Yeah, after this.
No, not there, but the pressure reading does.
What's that?
The sensor completely
What does
moved.
it say? I can't see it there.
Because there's the 997, but here's the main area, but yet the picture is right here. So 997
Two
landfall. Glitch, if anything. And then
Off it goes.
I think tropical storm landfall, maybe strong tropical storm, maybe trying to push
Quite a
hurricane
large wind field
70
there
miles
as
an hour.
well.
Yeah.
As you'd expect.
Yeah, a lot of the models are saying that it will expand, but the HWRF, as we know, it always forecasts very large storms. I mean, take Norway for example, it wasn't really big, but it always had a huge wind field. So the HWRF always which amplifies the picture somewhat, makes it bigger than what it already is.
And also remember
you can see the storm is tiny, and then it expands the wind field by about 100 miles or so.
Also remember that the HMON isn't really that great until you have a defined close center circulation. So it, as you saw there, it wasn't initializing it properly. So until you get that proper initialization, you probably won't get a proper intensity guidance reading.
No. You will end up with severe problems with that. Major problems. And silence.
So there we are, the current time 22:11 here in the UK, coming up to 26 on the east coast of the US, and you're looking at the latest photogrammetry of I keep saying post when it's potential, because that's what PTC used to mean.
Is it going to be on the blue wheel?
Not really. Potential Tropical Cyclone 7, which, as you can see, is whipping itself away towards the west-northwest, and it looks like it will clear Honduras for certain. Dane, any further things you'd like to contribute at this point? Because it's been a while since you last spoke there.
Well, I'm not sure if anybody's looked at the GFS yet. I'm not sure if Craig did, but GFS drops it to 972 millibars as it makes landfall, which would basically make it like a 100-mile-per-hour Category 2, probably, on the 12C one.
So here's that. That's get the wind data, which GFS does not control. It's showing about
Can you trust the GFS with anything these days?
track.
No.
I trust
would
track,
you trust
yeah.
the CMC more, or would you trust the CMC
The
less?
CMC
Now-
doesn't come up in any realistic conversation.
Well, actually, here's the thing with all the models. So GFS is good with track and wind speed, but sucks at pressure with all regard. And CMC is good with track as well, but also sucks with, well, it sucks with just forming storms
Oh
because
yeah, because the CMC forms 6 storms in each basin every run.
and that happens because they produce an incredible amount, an unrealistic amount of 700 millibar and 850 millibar cyclonic vorticity, which leads to multiple tropical cycles being generated unrealistically.
So
You see-
Hank, if you can figure that out, why can't they change it?
I don't know, but so yeah, going back to PTC 7. So that's what the GFS says. The European, which by the way was the one that initially said, "Hey, this might be a threat down the line," is showing that. Let's just get a pressure reading so we can get a better idea for this. And if this thing would load, okay. So it's showing, a tropical storm landfall in the Yucatan, and then a hurricane landfall around, say, just south of Tampico. And yes, I know this is 850 millibar wind speeds, but really this can be used as surface winds because this is normally what ends up happening. CMC, ignore any extra tropical cyclones, including 99L, which is a threat down the line, which we might mention later. Okay, so the CMC is showing. One second, I have to change parameters. It's showing a tropical storm moving into, or actually a depression even, moving into, I think, it's Belize.
Yeah.
And I think it ramps it up in the Bay Campeche
There it
only
goes.
to a weak
Yeah.
storm. But then again, CMC underestimates the true intensity because, I'll put it this way, they had Matthew as a tropical storm when it was a Cat 4. So,
Ouch.
anyways, NavGem also should. Oh, actually, one second. Let me just
Okay, that's
back
big.
this- Yeah, let me just back this up. And it's showing. That's tropical storm moving into a strong one at that.
That's with that
moving into,
wind field.
this is 850 millibar heights, so this is over exaggerated.
Okay.
And then moves into.
Go back there. Go back to the over the Yucatan. Does it intensify over land?
At
Just
the
before emerging.
It does at the upper levels, maybe, well, not really upper levels, but does above the ground. Because at the ground you have a bunch of frictional effects that really, really slow down the wind speeds. But when you get higher up in the atmosphere, that doesn't really happen because 850 millibars, it's about a mile above the ground. So you don't really have that frictional forcing that high up. So, and then it weakens it as it moves actually kind of west-southwest of Mexico, kind of on a coral track, but not as intense. And then you see this little bit of a wave axis right here. This is what is 99L, which I guess we can just mention really quickly here in the GFS long run, which, by the way, the model's coming out right now. So I can't really do that.
Oh, we could give you the updates, though.
Yeah, but hour 60 is not really showing much, but then again, it just emerged off the Yucatan. So if we go back a run, and I know this is far out, so please don't get angry at me or anything. And I know the hours are taking longer to load. I just moved to a new HQ, and the reception here is not as good as it was at my old place. So I apologize for that.
Oh dear, there's a Pacific storm way out.
Anyways, yeah, but look at how far out that is. So that's not. Well, Ron was showing. Yeah, that's 99L right there. Pretty pathetic. Moving on.
Yeah, very poor.
Is there a model we haven't looked at? Let's just look at the
some people might not be satisfied with that answer. What percentage would you put 99L at any point during its life of becoming a storm?
0%.
Probably. Okay, I'm not going to go that low, but I'd probably say at least 25. Just because it might have a chance in this area, but it's too far out to say. So this is the EPS, the European Ensemble, MSLP. And it's showing, this isn't the actual pressure of the storm, this is the overall mean pressure of all the ensemble members of the Euro model. And as it's moving, it's showing, the majority of the models are showing stronger storm, but there are a couple that are showing like nothing.
Is that some of them taking it to the south there as well?
Some take it south, some take it further north. And furthest north would probably put it in just about 30 miles south of Brownsville, Texas. And, okay, so the GFS ensemble members, it's probably better to use the MSLP for this one.
Oh, Jesus.
So it's moving, it's pretty tight agreement. That's actually pretty, for how...
highest agreement I've ever seen from the GFS ensembles.
Pretty much right into just south of Tampico and then falling apart as it moves inland, obviously. Yes, this light green blob is 99L, whatever. That's...
Well, there it goes, and a little bit of consensus there of north of the Bahamas.
Potentially, and this is the most recent run of the GFS. 72 hours out, Wednesday afternoon, showing an intensifying tropical cyclone, or tropical storm, well, same thing, in the Bay of Campeche that's moving in the general direction of whatever this little peninsula is right here. I always forget the name of that. And that's on board right now. So let's just move on.
Excellent. Well, there's the models.
Can somebody else please start talking?
David, have you got any news out of Japan right now?
Not at this point in time, but the models are generating a very interesting picture, and it's going to get wrecked, as we said, if it crosses the Mexican coastline, and consensus is that it'll dissipate and probably curve to the west-southwest.
Yeah, pretty much what we've been saying. Any thoughts on Noru?
Oh, what does one say? One of the best systems I've monitored, and still maintaining the eye.
Just
but it's definitely, we know it's weakening, and it's one for the books. But 2 people have been killed over in Japan. I cited that information about 25 hours ago.
And where was that in Japan?
Oh, I'm not sure, Nathan. I'd have to try and check it out. I think I cited it on a Twitter platform. But
okay. I'm going to try and get some more information about what's going on in terms of wind right now over there in Japan. I think Craig's ready to go ahead with something.
Yeah, this is the latest microwave image of Noru. As you can see here, the eye was pretty weak and pretty broken. So this is probably why the eye has been very disorganized, and it's looking like this right now. I think Jimmy might be doing an update. No, it is not. So this eye might not have long left before it breaks. And
yeah, well, JMA obviously put it down to 70 miles an hour. What I'm seeing here is that actually the highest wind speed being recorded on anywhere in Japan right now is 49 miles per hour on the eastern. Shikoku, the island, has sort of two southern tips, one in the west, one in the east. The eastern tip there currently has winds of around 50 miles an hour, and over in the west it's not really showing much at all in terms of wind speed. Only in the 20s and 30s, maybe 1 or 2 in the high 30s across Shikoku. But generally, winds appear to be low right now. I'm not sure what they were in the past, but I'm just looking through. Yeah, I don't think winds have really exceeded 50 miles an hour too much along most of the main islands along the coastline.
Nathan, the JMA wind chart is showing winds quite a bit of area in blue, which represents 10, and one area showing 25 knots. So
actually,
And,
just 1 hour ago, there was a wind speed of 26 meters per second on Shikoku. That's 58 miles per hour. So that looks like maximum sustained winds at the moment on land areas right now. 58.
I don't think dry air is an issue either. Last time I checked, it wasn't, at least. For Noru, that is. I don't know about 90L if it has any dry air near it.
Yeah. Sounds like something interesting is going on somewhere else. Heard a lot of movement going on.
Yeah, it's really windy over here.
Oh, from you.
Yeah.
So where's this
that's why
wind
it sounds like
coming
a hurricane. Coming from the northwest. Because like the way my apartment's centered, it's located due north, and winds are coming from this area back there, so they're coming from the northwest, it seems. So I'm getting some pretty strong gusts every now and then, and like right now, of course, as I'm talking about them, it makes it go stationary. But it's getting some quite violent gusts at times, maybe reaching 30 every now and then, but mostly around 20 miles an hour. I don't know what that would be in knots. Have you guys looked at the ensemble models for 90L? Like the spaghetti models, I mean?
Yeah.
We did indeed.
Spaghetti models, no.
Yeah.
I'll pull that up real quick. And
Yes, I'm
yeah, that's the.
Yeah.
Those are spaghetti models. So yeah.
Ooh, sounds like we're losing signal a little bit over there, Hank.
You're losing signal over there, Hank.
Hank, we're losing you.
I think Hank's dead.
Hank's gone.
He's gone.
Yeah.
We'll try and get Hank back at some time. We're really struggling with that. If anyone's got any comments or questions for us, do send them in, and we'll reply, hopefully. Oh, Hank's back. He's still going over there. Hank, we're really sorry that the signal is extremely poor.
Oh my god. Okay, well.
Blooper reel.
Okay, well.
Just something
Anyways, into the central/northern Yucatan, and then into central Mexico, around Tampico. Done. Sorry.
He was going on about something.
I was talking
models.
about spaghetti models. Are they even up on the screen?
They're on now.
yes,
Okay.
Alright.
Well, there you can see the consensus is pretty much there.
Yeah.
We sort of have a general idea of what it's going to do,
Yeah, so
but
let's
not
just
its
ignore.
intensity.
1 second. Let's just ignore this part. So I'm just gonna scoot it over here, and yeah, that's the general
There it is.
consensus. And probably
And,
landfall.
they seem to have timing pretty good there as well. Good consensus on that.
Yeah, landfall seems to be within about 3.5 days. So probably sometime on Thursday, I would say, probably around midday Thursday local time for these folks is when it should make landfall. And I think that's what the NHC. Yeah, it's pretty much what the NHC says. 2 p.m. Thursday. That's pretty much the middle of the day for them. This is going off Eastern time, so yeah, it's pretty much the middle of the day. So yeah.
All right. Well, I guess we're going to finish up that hour. We'll be back for another hour shortly. This is Force 13 Live. My name's Nathan Foy. I've been here this whole hour, and so is the Skype team, and we'll be back with another one shortly. This is the view from Force 13 HQ. Still very wet, I think, or has the rain relented a little bit there? Still lots of cloud around here at Force 13 HQ. It's been a terrible weather day here, but not as bad as what we're seeing in Japan right now with Typhoon Noru on the doorstep. More on that in the next hour as we come towards the morning hours over there in Japan. More shortly. coverage continues in a moment. You can follow Force 13's outlets, the website force13.co.uk, at your service at any time. You can also find us on YouTube, the channel, search Force 13, all in text, and subscribe if you haven't already. You can also find us on Facebook at Force 13, and it's at Force 13 on Twitter, that's the handle to contact us there. You can also add Fool13 on Skype, that's FOOL13, and add extension 9094 on Discord for tropical weather chat. You're watching Force 13's live streaming service. Time here at Force 13 HQ, 11:01 in the evening. It's 10:01 on the Universal Clock as we enter late Sunday night into Monday morning shortly. It is already Monday morning over in Japan, where we've got Typhoon Noru. I'm afraid you can't see me right now because my primary webcam is not working, but this one is here where you can see where I am in the studio right now, a very dark studio at that. Sometimes I like it a bit darker than usual. With just the screens, but there we go. That's just my preferences. We've also got the Skype team during this hour. They haven't gone anywhere. They're all still here. David, Dane, Hank, Isaac, Craig, and Orlando. The same setup we had at the start of the first hour. If you've got any comments or questions for us whilst on the air, do let us know. Potential Tropical Cyclone 7 formed an hour ago, and at that point it had winds of 35 miles an hour and a pressure of 1008 millibars. Tropical storm warnings in effect for most of, if not all of, the Yucatan Peninsula, with tropical storm warnings for the northernmost part of Belize. Well, as we enter this hour, who'd like to go first? Don't jump up at once.
Jump up at once.
Yes.
Damn.
Who's going first?
Well, obviously 99.0 needs to be. I don't have screen share capabilities on my phone here, but obviously 99. I mean 99. Oh dear.
PTC 7.
90L. Yeah, PTC 7. is something that needs to be watched. And then Noru, of course, really close to the Japanese mainland right now. I think Visible's over it right now as we speak. Over Noru, and think Joss Morgerman, Ice Cyclone, was near the eye wall of the storm, so we'll see what kind of footage he gets out of it. That's what they're all have to say right now. So if Hank or anyone else wants to take over, they could go ahead.
Yeah, well, what we've seen so far in terms of wind speeds from this storm, it looks impressive, but what we're seeing on land is only 60 miles an hour, which would possibly lend credence that JMA might be right that it's only 70 miles an hour, but looks stronger.
Well, I wouldn't say that. You got, because especially Japan, you got these really mountainous terrain, and that causes significant frictional forcing with the wind speeds. So when that happens...
But these stations are along the coast.
Even then, you can't really get much of a difference than what the oceanic wind speeds are compared to what they are on the terrain. It really doesn't matter, honestly, where the storm is located. You got it. If you have wind speeds at hurricane force on land, that means probably you're dealing with a Category 2 system. And if you have sustained winds, at least of 60 miles an hour, then, yeah, 75 miles an hour, that's probably a safe bet.
But the area that just recorded the 60 mile an hour winds is in the northeastern quadrant as well.
That's interesting.
It's just about getting into the northeastern quadrant now, but that's curious that it was 60 miles an hour earlier and it's gone down to about 49 in this hour.
So it looks like whatever eye that Nora had, which was well defined on the earlier frames, the eye just seems to be like completely falling apart.
Really?
Well, that's a trick. Probably a trick of the visible imagery, really.
Well, could someone possibly bring up the radar imagery? Because we've not... we see a little bit of the radar in the bottom left-hand panel there, but if anyone's got a close-up of that, that'd be very much helpful to all of us here.
Second. I don't really have...
So let me see if I can find something.
Here's the question.
This is a JMA.
I got it.
I want to challenge here. Is there anyone who thinks potential Tropical Cyclone 7 won't develop? No.
No.
Alright.
There's radar.
Here,
99L.
Ah. Gross.
As one video I would post, but I am not going to post it. Describes it perfectly.
So I got an interesting question during the break. How many Category 5 storms do you reckon will form this year, and what basins?
I have no idea.
Maybe one of the maybe one of the Atlantic, maybe one of the East Pac. Parts.
I think definitely potential for a Cat 5 in the Atlantic again this year. Caribbean base, I should think, or Gulf of Mexico, you never know. And then I think we'll get at least another in September, October in the West Pacific. I think we might be done in the East Pac. Cat 5s don't always happen there, but you never know.
Cat 5s, logically speaking, Cat 5 is more likely to happen in August and September in the Eastern Pacific.
And North Indian, you never know what might happen there too.
Yeah, whatever. I don't know what.
Yeah, whatever.
North Indian equals yeah, whatever. Over in Hank's world over there.
Well, not entirely, because when you get a storm over there, you gotta watch it. But for right now, it's in a down. It's in a down phase there, so that's not really to watch.
And speaking about the North Indian, it's also been a 10th year anniversary of Cyclone Gonu over there as well.
Gonu was back in June.
Yeah, but I mean, 10 years since it's been there.
Someone asked, do you think the East Pacific will get the Greek names?
No.
Wow, interesting question.
What?
Is that for real?
Yeah,
never happened
that's
before.
an actual question in the
Never
actual
happened
chat.
before.
No. Epa.
You baffled everyone here, whoever that was.
July.
It was Captain Will 1.
Sorry, Captain
July?
Will, you baffled everyone. Sorry?
July in the Eastern Pacific does not equal July in the Atlantic. July is a lot more active in the Eastern Pacific during the month of July.
There's another question. Will 7 go into the Pacific? We had that already.
Haven't we already answered that question?
Well, sometimes we have to re-answer questions as people tune in and out.
Yeah.
It's too far. Let's not focus on that. We gotta focus on.
Yeah, whatever he said.
Whatever was said.
Who should we speak to next? Oh, I don't know who we've not spoken to for a while. Who
Orlando?
wants to speak next?
No, I'm not alive.
Okay, Dane.
Good lord.
Dane's just spoken.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
I have bad memory.
Will the cyclone go to Jupiter?
He must mean Jupiter, Florida. 99 L.
Good.
The cyclone is going to Jupiter.
Do I hear rain in someone's audio?
Well, there's rain here as well. You can see it really clouding up the lens there, but weather's
There
not
was
so great here.
a light rain here.
Yes.
I'm getting thunder rain. Oh, nice.
If you've got any more questions for us whilst on the air, do let us know right now. Send in a message. Start it with Force13 all in text, and we'll respond. We love answering your questions, really, even if they are silly sometimes. Not naming any names or anything, but you know, we look forward to those. And obviously, if there's any breaking news that comes in, there isn't really anything going on at the moment, so that's why we're sort of stumbling a little bit, but stumbling's quite fun. We're just watching the latest radar of Nauru on its last legs, maybe? Who knows? But did we look at models for the Westpac? And we did briefly, didn't we?
Yeah.
And
I don't think.
GFS and HWRF, are they still saying that Nauru will turn south?
It might be. Let me check. And zoom out. Okay.
Dean Land says
So
Force 13 only had 5 chances this year. Well, unofficially, yes, there was. Ernie was clearly
Oh, yes.
5.
Oh yeah, Ernie. Forgot. Yeah, so Nora was probably the second.
Yeah.
We think that
Look at-
Ernie was definitely a Cat 5. Initially we said Inawa was as well, but we revised down to 155.
Yeah.
But
Look at Ernie's image. And
Ernie was
I don't know where they got 150. That looks like a Cat 5, no question, really, in my mind.
Yeah.
It's kind of
nuts.
like Igor for me. It's just like, how the hell do you think that was a 4? But anyways,
I think it was
back
more
up-
clear cut than Igor.
It's like
potentially.
not 10. It's like not 10. It was 105 miles per hour, and it should have been a 5.
Not
Oh my
10, yeah.
So yeah, this is the GFS showing Noru as probably some sort of post-tropical.
Yeah, there it goes. Do a little loop around itself there again.
Yeah, just not really moving. God, can this thing just die already? And then nothing
No,
else.
can't.
Nothing else in the rest of the Western Pacific. If I can move back farther, respond with me. Thank you very much. Show ECMWF. Come on, please work.
There it goes.
Also showing Nora moving as a post-tropical remnant and not producing anything else. CMC, if you do typhoon on this, then we will just go back to the current status. Okay. So this is what the CMC is saying. It's slowly but surely coming out, showing Nora moving pretty much right down the spine of Japan and moving out into, well, really just merging with something to the northeast of Japan and then moving slowly towards the north and east. Now, down is probably showing something quite similar, probably. And let's see. Most likely moving in on out to sea, east of Japan. Apologies for the dog background. And, yeah, just moving out towards the
off
north.
it goes. Post-tropical long gone there. Just some more stuff. Let's see. Will there be any hurricanes in the Gulf of Mexico?
Well, I mean, if PTC 7 isn't anything, then I don't know what is.
Oh, you could also be invited to witness everyone.
Apart from that, yeah, I think there will be more.
And will any storms hit Trinidad and Tobago?
Well, you've already had 2, so I think you
know.
just...
How many more do you want?
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen people drawing comparisons with 2013 because at one point it didn't look like 99L or 90L would develop, and people were getting, pissy and stuff. So they said, "Oh, it's going to be 2013."
Which storm name were we up to by this point in 2013?
I think I think Dorian just dissipated, and we were going into Aaron. Aaron didn't form till like mid-August, so
it's almost caught up to us.
And if you look at the sea surface temperature comparisons, it's the amount of water in the North Atlantic.
No, it's much different this year.
It's
a very interesting setup that we've got in the Atlantic plus Pacific this year. It's got elements of 2010 and 2016, but it's no real direct comparison, and it's going to be. It's got no real analog this year, to be honest, has it?
Yeah, I think probably we're probably going to see a bunch of fish storms, and then during the Cape Verde season. But then once we get towards October, we really got to watch the Caribbean and Gulf, anything that or any other Caribbean countries. Just simply due to just some factors in the Atlantic. It's kind of off topic. Don't really want to go into why I think that. And I'm still holding on to my 14 to 16 name storms. I don't care that we've had 5 storms already. I think that those.
I think that's still sensible.
I mean, Emily came out of nowhere. Dawn came out of nowhere. So what else can I say? Really, the last decent system we had was Cindy. Not really. Anyways, back on track.
It's just another question here. How much rain do you predict for Central Texas based on models at this point?
Oh my god.
Well, I live in Central Texas, so we're supposed to have some rain tomorrow, and we could have up to, say, 4 inches of rain by the time that week is done, but most of the rain should be focused up towards North Texas. If we're talking direct impacts, well, at the time would probably be Franklin.
And I live in South Central Texas.
We probably wouldn't see much at all from it. Maybe a couple streamer cirrus clouds.
How much rain did you two get in Cindy?
None.
I didn't get any at all.
None on the western side.
It was maybe 30 minutes for me, but that's it.
No, all I got was maybe 2 hours of cloud cover, but really, really light cloud cover, and that was it. And then it went and died.
Last storm I got any impacts from was Bill.
Wow.
For me, it was Alex, or 2010, I think.
Alex.
Oh. Yeah, I got some rain from Alex.
Did Hermine happen?
Oh yeah. I keep forgetting about that one. I don't know why. Yeah, I got a pretty good amount of rain from Hermine too.
We got 17 inches from Hermine, and probably in some areas are actually still. I actually think that's a pretty underrated storm. Seriously, there's just places where I used to live that are still rebuilding from those floods.
And David, I see you're posting rain estimates from PTC 7. Do you want to share?
Okay, that's the latest from the National Hurricane Center. Rainfall amounts of 3 to 6 inches, isolated amounts of around 12 inches possible across the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico and Belize through Wednesday, and these rains could produce life-threatening flash floods. Wind tropical storm conditions expected to begin in portions of the warning area Monday afternoon or evening, and tropical storm conditions possible in portions of the watch area by Monday afternoon. And the next advisory is 8 p.m. EDT.
Here's another question. Will Franklin be like a Cindy storm or an organised storm?
An organized Cindy storm.
Yeah, an organised storm or a Cindy storm?
Neither. Well, organized. Cindy was awful.
Cindy was interesting to watch, wasn't it? 4, if not 5 different vortices in its centre.
It wasn't Colin. Just put it that way.
Yeah, it was just very, very curious.
At least there was a modified tropical storm. Just put it that way.
Reminded me almost of one of those extraterrestrial storms. Can't remember which planet now.
What?
I know, just
Jupiter.
Just seems so odd.
Someone did ask earlier whether we believe in aliens.
That's why I brought that in.
So let's stay on topic here, and I'm just going to go under some... I'm going to just really quickly go through some scenarios with PT7. So this is the system right now, right here. And it's been moving out of the Caribbean. It's moving in this general direction right here. And there could be some sort of swirl in this area, likely not closed yet. Recon is supposed to go into the system tomorrow, and we could get something out of that. But I'd ask Cat and other surface observations from buoys to determine if this thing actually has a closed center or not. For the time being, it probably does not, but it probably will. And just to remind you, NHC has an 80% chance of development within the next 2 days and 90% in 5 days, and by then Mexico. So this thing is pretty much going to develop.
I think it will have a center by tomorrow, having closed circulation.
Yeah. So in general, the NHC predicts it will take a track into the Yucatan. That was awful. Into the central/northern Yucatan, and then into the Bay of Campeche, into a central Gulf of Mexico, coast of Mexico, I guess. And the reason and there were some models that were suggesting something potentially similar to this, which would have been the role of last year. But recently, all of this convection that's been popping up with 9L has been helping to erode this ridge over the Gulf, and you can tell it's there because there really isn't much cloud cover at all over the Gulf of Mexico, as you can see here. There really isn't much at all. So because of this, it's helping to kind of erode this ridge kind of and have it more like this instead of like this. So it's not much, but it can be crucial because if you have a ridge that dips in kind of like this, then it will have to steer the storm further south and potentially, and it'll make it move over the Bay of Campeche still, but in less warm water. And that's scenario number 1. Scenario number 2 is if you have the ridge weaker, which is likely was to happen because the convection is eroding at it, then the storm is allowed to move further north, and one, that gives it more time over the Western Caribbean, and hence probably will move it inland as a stronger system. But secondly, and probably more importantly, it has much more warm water out here to sustain itself with. That and the shear should be pretty much negligible by this point. So it could continue moving towards the west and potentially get up to a hurricane, even at Category 2 if it's lucky enough and has enough odds on its favor. And it could be a pretty memorable system. That's scenario 2, and the one I think is more likely. Current analogs of the system that I can think of off the top of my head, Diana of 1990, which took a track pretty much like this. If that was an awful arrow, I apologize. And yeah, pretty much like what the storm's probably going to take. Another one was L1 that Orlando mentioned earlier that took something kind of like that, I believe. More recent examples, let's say Ernesto of 2012. That moved in pretty much similar to the Yucatan, but then dipped a little bit southwest. Same thing with Carl, except formed in this area as well, and was in mid-September. People like to think of Earl, which moved into the east, and then
All right.
the big paycheck.
Hey, some people want to know a little bit about 99L again. Well, can we look at it right now? It looks awful, I've been told.
Yeah, let's change parameters right here. So this is what 99L is looking like.
Get ready.
Please your
Curry
eyes.
buckets.
Where is it?
Curry buckets. Where's your buckets?
It's this
It's
right
that?
here.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm puking. Bye. Okay, I'm going to puke. Okay, bye.
This thing actually did look pretty good as it was coming up the coast of Mexico. I was almost convinced this thing was going to develop. Obviously, I jinxed that, and it's probably going to be moving into this general area right here, which, if you are already aware, it's basically a place where there is literally zero chance of slack world developing at this time of year in this type of conditions. And because of that, it has a very low chance of developing, in my opinion. But there is a potential. The thing could slip a little bit further north than what we're saying, and could move into this area of the Atlantic, which is normally
You never
really
know what might happen there.
You never know. So that's why I have some sort of, question marks out in the future past a week.
Martinez
Keyword.
says kiss 99L goodbye.
Yeah, so it's not done yet. We know the 99Ls have a horrible reputation. Last year's it became a Hermine was just torture, and this probably won't be as bad, but you never know.
Ouch.
In fact,
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but that's the one that became Hermine, and this one looked pretty similar in this position with very little self cover, and everyone thought it didn't have a chance in hell, and you never know. So, excuse my language, that was uncalled for. But yeah, this thing shouldn't have too big of a risk of development. If you're curious, Emily's remnants are nowhere to be found out here, and this thing right here is the main player, which will probably move into that. So that's the current situation with all of that fun stuff. Just really briefly, just to mention this. If you see that very faint, kind of a figure right, that's the remnants of a tropical depression, which
Did
was
we
very.
have to go there?
Yes, we did, and
Uh,
okay, and it moved in this general direction right here. Got kind of close to Socorro Island right here, but didn't obviously do anything. And now it's just a naked swirl out here. And that's pretty much all to be said. And if anybody, for whatever reason, was curious, Irwin, that's it.
Oh no.
That's Irwin right there. If anyone
happy face. I think a happy face to me for some reason.
Win.
Pretty badly done.
Okay, hey, one or two people want to know about how to get involved with the project. Well, I mean, there's several ways to get involved in the project, to be honest, but you can always start by adding myself on Skype or Discord at Fool13, at extension 9094 on Discord. We have chat rooms on both Skype and Discord as well. And we will be working on the website, which is under more reconstruction right now. I can hear someone over there in the background. Hopefully we'll have some new sections for people who want to talk more in text about what's going on as the season progresses.
I've got an update for you on Nauru.
Go ahead.
CNN is reporting that Typhoon Nobu has already dropped up to 600 millimeters, 24 inches in Japan,
Quite
with
possible.
numerous landslides and 210,000 evacuated.
So there we are. Interesting. Certainly over 7 or 8 inches in a 24-hour period in southern Kyushu, and possibly, I reckon, more rain would have fallen over those islands south of Kyushu as well. So certainly significant amounts of rainfall. I reckon the most would have fallen on those islands south of Kyushu, could be breaking 24 inches. And rainfall continuing along the coastline there as well. Maybe an inch an hour, perhaps, in some places at times. No one's showing us. Oh, what we're looking at here.
I'm gonna pull up this one source really quick. I don't think it will, but it's worth it. My computer's a bit whatever.
Mm.
And here
Has ASCAT finished?
Axis right here that's becoming more orientally tilted as opposed to.
Well, that doesn't look so impressive on this view.
Well, it's because it's the GFS initialization.
Yeah.
And normally doesn't have a very good initialization. I mean, this looks better than this initialized this dump, which was a very weak axis. So, in reality, less. Cannot access ASCAT. Don't ask me why, because I don't know myself. I don't think it's coming out soon now.
ASCAT. Oh.
So, yeah, that's probably something that we might need to watch out for, because that could reveal in a couple hours if we do not have a tropical depressive and/or tropics within the next couple of hours.
Yeah, we're struggling to hear you a little bit again over there, Hank. Sounds a little bit muffled.
I think it's being drowned out.
Sorry about that, but if you guys were curious, the next name is Franklin. Rather Mexico storm, but regardless, it could be a pretty significant one. After Franklin is Gert, very ugly name.
Hope no one called Gert is watching our stream right now. Otherwise we'll lose a subscriber or two, Hank.
Sorry, Gert.
Great work.
Sorry, Gert.
I wonder how many Matthews are watching.
I know quite a few.
There were one or two back when we were doing the Matthew streams who were named Matthew. We probably had a Patricia or two as well.
Matthew's actually a pretty common name, so.
Certainly is. Can we look at what 99L looks like on that graphic?
I probably can't even decipher it.
Yeah, well, it's somewhere around 40 west. Good lord.
Let's see.
40 west and 10 north in that vicinity.
The circulation that could.
It's just a really elongated monsoon trough, really.
Ooh.
Looks awful. I mean, if you look at, if I can pull up the vorticity signature right here, just look at that. That's terrible. If I can, actually, it might actually give us some more up-to-date information. But okay, I have. But yeah, it looks pretty terrible. Yeah, it's trying to break off a little bit right here, but it's still going to be terrible regardless. Looks like a peanut, really. Meanwhile, 90L over here is it's looking better.
Potential tropical cyclone 7 looking. I did it again. Potential tropical cyclone 7 looking good.
Yeah. And
that's potential.
And while we're looking at this, we might as well check some parameters here. Mid shear, not going to be an issue. Wind shear, not really an issue.
Hey, one thing we've not looked at yet is sea surface temperatures.
Oh, they're boiling right now. In the
31 to 32 Celsius, I think it was, in the western Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah, I don't normally like to use CDAS, but this is the easiest thing I have right now. Look at that. I mean, that's pretty impressive. Those are some areas potentially getting up to 32 degrees Celsius.
And that's where potential PTC 7 is heading into those waters too.
I can't recall very often that the Gulf of Mexico is warmer than the Western Caribbean.
Yeah, well, last year was also on fire, so I guess it's just a continuation, maybe. And also, oceanic heat content.
Well, it's been so long since there was a significant hurricane over there in the Gulf.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But if you look,
Californian mapping asked if NOAA was ever even a Category 5.
Oh yeah, easily.
Yeah,
yeah.
I think it was.
It had that look to it, and then the satellite presentation showed that it was most likely a 5.
But anyways,
and that's the reason why it was a Cat 5.
Oceanic heat content values in the Western Caribbean are pretty high. They're not as high in the Gulf, but their overall temperatures are higher, so that equates itself and pretty much negates any extra negative values. And basically what I'm saying is that this storm is in a pretty favorable environment. I don't think there's too much dry air. Some potentially being from this ridge. But
I guess
as
most
I said,
of it hinges on whether it keeps its composure over that landmass. The Yucatan.
yeah, the Yucatan normally doesn't rip storms up too much. I mean, especially if you get a storm of this side of nature. I mean, say Carl was pretty similar to this. Moved into the Yucatan has probably similar intensity as this will. And that didn't really get ripped up too much. And once it got over the Bay of Campeche, it just exploded. So the Yucatan really isn't that big of a... This thing isn't passing over Hispaniola. If this thing was passing over Hispaniola, then we could wave goodbye to it. But Yucatan is a lot flatter. It's not as really long as Hispaniola, because storms only come in like this, not like this.
Yep.
And storms don't come in like this over the Yucatan. They go in like this. So it's less land overall, and it's not nearly as many mountains, really, not much at all.
Captain Will asks us a very general question. Are there any storms that you thought would have been retired but weren't?
Yeah, there's a bunch, but let's just go down a few. Gordon 1994, Isaac 2012, Emily 2012, Lee 2011. Maybe another storm I can't think of. Maybe even Earl last year.
Huh.
I don't know.
Yeah, I personally think Earl probably should have been retired, honestly.
Alex of 2010, Carl of 2010, Matthew of 2010.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's a Matthew in
So
2010,
let's-
believe it or not.
Yeah, that
The
was
list just goes on.
Yeah, it really does. Maybe even Alberto 1994, whatever. There's a bunch.
Oh, no.
But
And,
I don't know if the storm would be bad enough to be qualifiable for retirement. I can't say if it would be, because they obviously haven't even formed yet. So
Yeah.
let's go around saying the name Franklin will be retired.
No, don't say that.
I know this may not be like too relevant, but can we see the wind shear map for Noru, where Noru's at?
Oh, no. Yeah, I can pull that up real quick.
Yeah, I just wanted to see that just in case people were curious on like if it was in higher wind shear or not.
Yeah, no, not actually, not really at all. The storm's been a really,
Wow.
The storm's been a really low wind shear pretty much ever since it became a 5, honestly, and that looks to be continuing here. So wind shear not an issue for Noru. Just to give people a better idea of what this is. Red means stop. Green means go. And
Traffic lights.
So it's good. Just to narrow it down a little bit for those who don't really know.
Man, look at all that wind shear around it though. The wind shear around it is insane. Like that, it's like in like the smallest. It's like in like that awkward pocket of no wind shear, and all around it, the higher wind shear.
Yeah, well, this storm. This is all of this being generated by a monsoonal gyre that the storm itself has been really just kind of laying out from pretty much the Luzon Strait all the way up to almost Hokkaido. And that's a pretty common feature for August, so it's not really too out of the ordinary.
Here's one.
Sometimes-
Here's a one for you. Since Noru formed, there have been 6 other West Pacific storms that have lived and died. It's outlived 6 other storms that formed after it.
Yeah, but look at the ace of all those storms except for NASAD.
Still impressive though.
Nisat.
In fact, I could actually pull up this source right here just to show you how much this storm has really just been quite remarkable, actually. If you look at the Northwestern Pacific as a whole, look at these ACE values, like 1.1, 0.9, 2.2, 1.0, 41.8. All these values down here. And just look at this jump right here. Black line is climatology, the blue line is
one storm is responsible. Without Noru, where would we be? We'd be on the floor.
we
Quite literally.
we'd be nowhere, really.
Wow.
And also, and that's just the Western Pacific. If we take a look at the Northern, we are really behind early this month. And then all this activity, not just Noru, but you got Fernanda, you had Hillary, you had Irwin, you had the Atlantic embarrassments, you had some other Westpac stuff. All
So
of that,
we're around average now, remarkably.
yeah.
Yeah.
we could just look at the
which
Eastern
is
Pacific,
boring for people like me who look for records.
and we could just look at the Eastern Pacific right here, which that jumped up mostly due to Fernanda, Hillary, and Earl. You could look at the individual ace values here, and then the embarrassment that is the Northern Atlantic Basin.
Here we go.
Look at those pathetic values right there, and that abysmal.
Yeah, but look,
Yes.
till the last 2 weeks, or the last 2 weeks of August there, the ace value remains very low, and then it jumps. Look at it go.
Yeah,
Historically.
once you get to August 20th, this thing is rockets. Really, I mean, that's when you get Cape Bird storms that cause most of your ace. And, you know,
people looking for those Atlantic storms, you know, it's going to be 2 weeks from now, things might start warming up. But that is an average spread amongst 30 years there, so it could happen before or after.
yeah, and another little interesting tidbit. 5 named storms overall equated to an ace value of 3.7 I observed. And that is the lowest ever recorded for the first 5 named storms of any season in the Atlantic.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, that's... I mean, yeah, we've had 5 named storms, but the ace value is literally lower than a number of storms. That doesn't say something. I don't know what it does.
Have we reached 1914's ace value yet?
Probably.
Only just.
See, yeah, we probably did, but I mean, honestly, the best looking storm this year has been Arlene. I don't know if that's saying anything, but I think
an April storm.
April.
We had a question earlier. Let's see. Where did it go? I've lost it now. Oh, just Jack Boucher saying, is there any storms coming to the UK anytime soon? Well, I can answer that, or attempt to. I wouldn't say storms, I'd just say a lot of more meager weather like this rainfall that's continuing, and colder temperatures. Not very good. Also, California Mapping wants to know if there's any fires going on in California right now. I did notice that there is a significant red flag warning area in northernmost California extending into southern Oregon, but I think our American people will know more about that than I, about any fires in California. But I don't know if anyone here does. You tell me.
There aren't any from what I've heard, but someone else might have heard something.
Let me just check the National Weather Service really quick. I can tell you.
So, Hank, do you know which storm produced more ace? Hurricane Nadine or Super Typhoon Noru?
Noru. Nadine, let me just check really quick. I have it down as 32.4, and Noru I have down as 41.8.
Also,
well, that's impressive.
There's a flash flood warning just southwest of Austin, southeast of Austin. Yes, Hank, Austin, Nevada. What? Correct.
Okay, I was about to say, like, what in the world are you talking about?
But there are some flash flood watches or flood watches or something of the like. Flash flood watches in northeastern parts of Texas.
Yeah. Because we're supposed to be seeing a pretty significant trough in the area and produce some significant rainfalls. And that trough could also be a steering factor into the future evolution of PTC-7.
Captain Will thinks that potential tropical cyclone 7 already looks better than Arlene.
Okay. No more, please.
I don't think we can really compare. They're very different in formation and nature and composition.
Actually, talking about flash flood watches, I'm under a flash flood watch.
Wow. Will it
There's
become a
also
warning?
a couple severe thunderstorm warnings scattered across the central U.S. from like Mississippi to South Dakota.
And as you can see, it's windy at Isaac's place there at the top left. Isaac, how's it going there? Winds still gusting into the 30s, perhaps? Or has he just left his camera static there? Looks like he's done the latter. Well, if you've got any more comments or questions, we're going to finish up in 15 minutes at the end of this hour, because we've discussed pretty much everything we wanted to discuss, and there's no real news that will be coming in. We may do some more...
Yes.
Hello, some more one moment. More recorded updates, possibly later tonight, or definitely tomorrow if PTC 7 becomes named.
Yes.
Yes,
Hello?
Isaac, tell us about the weather there in the last hour.
Gusty winds around 20, 25 miles an hour, occasionally 30 mile-an-hour gusts. Clear day with occasional cloudy weather. Expected to get some more cloudy weather from what Hank said up there. I'm supposed to get some of that cloudy weather and might have an increased chance of rain later on in the weekend.
So there you are, real-time weather updates here from Isaac over there in sort of southern
Corpus
Texas.
Christi. Corpus Christi.
Thank you very much. Well, I think we're almost finished with the business. Is Craig still here?
It probably isn't.
Craig, are you
Not
alive?
doing very well, are we, at the moment? Well, let's see if we can get... you got the latest imagery of PTC 7 and any further observations we can make on it?
Well, actually, I was looking at the movement of PTC 7, and it looks like how it's moving. If it keeps up that movement that it's having, it might go more to the north than what the NHC has. There's a risen possibility on what I've noted of it moving more to the north, which could be a bad thing.
I mean, just really quickly, just gonna observe this really here. Look at this outflow. Look how much, look at these, just this exhaust from these thunderstorms just moving out
to improve.
There's no shear in this area. If you can just look at these thunderstorms, they're not being ripped apart at all.
Unabated.
The shear is negligible, really. See this outflow towards the northeastern half of the storm. Honestly, in fact, I'm looking at this right now, and it's looking. If you look really closely, you're seeing some winds coming out of the the northwest that are moving into the storm, and then some winds down here that are coming in from the southwest. And
would any microwave imagery help us right now?
Microwave imagery doesn't really help you determine if there's a close center, but it can if you look closely enough. But really, the details of that are too minute. And if you really quick, I also noticed this little vortex that this spat out earlier.
Yeah.
It's gone now pretty much. I don't think I have to worry about any more of those coming out.
Do you think that could have been more of a mid-level center, if anything?
That's definitely at the low levels, but it's probably just something that the convection up here just spat it out really quick. There's looks to be something going right in here, and if this current trend suggests, if it continues moving in this general direction, this area of the coast right here is going to have to be pretty close to land. Just to remind you really quick of the National Hurricane Center forecast track, takes the storm into that general area north of the and then moves into the Bay of Campeche coast of Mexico as a tropical storm, probably a hurricane, really. Remember that the first forecast cones of the National Hurricane Center storms tend to be because out far the intensity guidance is not that certain, because intensity guidance is the hardest thing to predict with tropical storms. The track you got put down pretty easy. It's the intensity that's really what we struggle with, and that it can be proven by multiple storms. Also, examples that I'm not going to, you can use your imagination to think about what I could be talking about. But anyways, the storm, it's in good company right now, and it's Western Caribbean. It's favorable. Trades are not that bad. If you look really close here,
And daylight fading there now. Hank, we didn't hear the end of what you said there because it cut off. But who'd like to speak next here?
Well,
I was actually.
Oh, I'm sorry. We'll bring Orlando in now, though.
Well, I was going to say that it seems like the conditions for PTC 7 to quickly develop is increasing overall because of the lowered shear values compared to where it was earlier today, and the high sea surface temperatures, including minimal dry air in the vicinity. So it's no doubt that it might just turn up sometime in the early hours of tomorrow or sometime tomorrow.
Also, something really quickly I want to bring up. All this convection right here is pushing air away from it. You can see air is being pushed out, this in the upper levels at least. Air is being pushed out to the east right here because from this outflow. It's also being pushed out to the west right here from this outflow. That creates an area of upper divergence over the storm, which is favorable for further intensification because it can allow upper level ridges to form above the low level trough, kind of, the low level center, and it can allow the storm to intensify further because it blocks out any kind of invading factors that could try to inhibit development of the system, including wind shear, dry air, and other upper atmospheric phenomena that could try and disrupt it. And this, yeah, I can't see how this thing couldn't be a tropical storm before it moves into the Yucatan Peninsula, in all honesty. Just needs to close off the center. That's really it.
Yeah. Just to remind everyone of the warnings that are in effect, a tropical storm warning in effect for most of the Yucatan Peninsula, the coast of Mexico, from Chetumal to Campeche, and we've also got Campeche, you say, isn't it? Tropical storm watch in effect for Belize City, northward to the border with Mexico. Not very large an area under that tropical storm watch.
Yeah, so as you can see on this graphic, they predict the storm become a tropical storm
Very soon.
by
I
tonight.
don't see why not either.
Yeah,
But it might be pretty difficult for them to detect unless they do a recon flight because it's going to be on infrared imagery now.
well,
think
yeah. You also got a bunch of buoys out here
True.
that help determine. In fact, you just pull this
They
up
won't
really
have
quick.
ASCAT again till I think another 6 hours or so. Maybe
Yeah, so
longer.
this is, as 18 says, this is a little bit outdated, so it does show continued westerly trades right here. But the center is probably up in this area right now. And you can see we got multiple little buoys out here, and there's more that you can access online. I can tell you multiple things such as wind speed, wind direction, sea surface temperatures, dew point, etc., that can help you determine if the center is becoming more defined or defined enough to be classifiable as a tropical cyclone. And at this point, I think it's very close, but not quite.
Well, I think we'll be talking about a new tropical cyclone in the morning.
Probably.
Maybe even late evening.
Yeah.
If anyone's still around. I won't be.
I will be.
Yes. Well, let's talk to Dane before we finish up here. Any further thoughts on 99L or PTC 7?
Not really. Not much other than that. I'm personally not much of a fan of 99L. I don't think it's
Who is?
really going to get anywhere. When it comes to 90L, 90L developing in a tropical storm Franklin is probably inevitable.
Yes. And David, what do you think? Any news, first of all, that you've been looking up throughout this hour, and what are your thoughts on PTC 7?
I think it'll head up towards Texas.
Oh, you do?
Whoa.
Yeah,
Really?
I don't. The models was indicating the track to the west. I'm going to go for possibly a northwest direction.
Okay.
So I'm gonna get the facts from it.
And for the 99L, don't dismiss it. It's still early days.
It does have a very long time, but at the moment it's at least it's going to be in the Western Atlantic, isn't it, before any sort of development is going to happen.
True.
Looking at the models, I highly doubt really that this thing is going to.
Well, look how long it took Hermine to develop from last year.
I just want to reiterate. I'm just switching gear here on the warnings that are going on in Japan right now. Shikoku, the complete island, under what I'd describe as a typhoon warning, even though that particular description doesn't exist over there in their warning system, and also extends as far east as Aichi province or prefecture, and also the northern coast prefectures of Tottori and Hyogo, with gale warnings for large parts of pretty much the southwestern half of Japan, extending as far east as Shizuoka and Fukui and Gifu inland there. And obviously heavy rainfall is going to be continuing to occur on Japan, which is over 9 inches, I think, 9 inches or so in an hour, no, not in an hour, in 24 hours occurring yesterday into today. And it's going to be another day of heavy rainfall, mainly for the island of Shikoku and Honshu. Well, we're about to finish up here, guys. Any last thoughts before we finish up, and one last chance for viewers to get the questions in?
Not really for me.
Don't think 90L will hit Texas.
Or PTC.
And if it does, I'll get more out of it.
Like those names.
Whatever. It's the same thing.
It certainly is, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I think that 90L, or, well, now TTC 7, is now a huge threat for the Mexican coastline.
Alright. Well, if you want to send us any comments or questions when we go off the air, you can do. You can go to Facebook or Twitter, search Force13 all in text. You can add Fool13 on Skype, FOOL13, and add extension 9094 on Discord. Thanks very much to Skype team this evening for joining us for these 2 hours. We'll have more from them probably tomorrow evening. Thank you. And you'll have more from me in the meantime as well, most likely. That's all from us for now. We'll be back again tomorrow. Sorry you couldn't see my face properly, but I am over here somewhere. And from Force 13 HQ and our friends here, good night. you can follow Force 13's outlets, the website force13.co.uk at your service at any time. You can also find us on YouTube, the channel, search Force 13, all in text, and subscribe if you haven't already. You can also find us on Facebook at Force 13, and it's at Force 13 on Twitter, that's the handle to contact us there. You can also add Fool13 on Skype, that's FOOL13, and add extension 9094 on Discord for tropical weather chat.